Downloading latest intel package. Welcome back. I was getting worried about you.
Agent Academy, episode 12, recorded on January 23rd, 2018. I am Agent Soho.
And I am Agent Goonie Guy. And today we've got a special guest with us today.
Who's that?
A comedian, Ingress legend, Agent IncredibIeHulk, a.k.a.
Hello.
Collin Williams.
Well, cool. It's awesome to have you on the show. You kind of taught us how to play years ago when I got into it. You were the only one on YouTube. You kind of still are, really, teaching everyone and with guides and kind of the ultimate beginner's guide, I remember, to Ingress and all that good stuff. And we finally got you on the show. This is really cool.
Yeah, back in my day, we didn't have these YouTube videos teaching you how to play. You had to put on your sneakers and do it the hard way.
Right. Awesome. So, and you are enlightened as well. So we're all enlightened here.
Yes. Yeah, I won't faction change to make it equal, despite people insisting I should for fun. But it's a solid green party for now. I even got the green screen behind me. I would like to offer to anyone Photoshop almost whatever you would like behind my head. It's our Photoshop battle going on live. What can you put behind me?
All right. Awesome.
Challenge accepted.
Uh-oh.
I guess we'll just get right into the show. If people don't know who you are, they should. If they're following Ingress at all, follow this man on YouTube. Your channel is Collin 3000. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. My original Ingress name before I changed it.
And so describe kind of what you do on YouTube.
So I've been doing instructionals for Ingress now. It's tapered off a little bit because there's a lot of stuff that we're waiting for 2.0 to come out. But essentially, it's everything from the basics with a 101 series, a 101 102 that covers, for players that are just starting, the questions like how to walk to how to make a basic field, the basics of mods, things like that, to a little bit more experienced stuff. So there's a multi-layered fielding video that I messed up because I used to film them while drinking. And then a pro tip series that for me, the pro tips was the thing that I loved the most in making them. And I'm waiting out on a few of them to see if they still work in Ingress 2.0 that are backlogged. But what made that great was it was collectively all of the agents from around the world were sending me their personal tips. And so everyone would always say like, oh, how you don't know Ingress as well as me. It's like, well, then what do you know that I don't know? Let's tell everyone. So it wasn't necessarily me telling people this secret about Ingress. It was the community telling people about these secret, quick, awesome tips that ended up helping out a lot of agents. Usually there's at least one per episode that I try to make sure was in there that even level 16 agents wouldn't know. Most of them wouldn't know. So it was just trying to make the Ingress community a little bit of a better place. I like to think of Ingress as chess. In the sense of I don't want to play against someone who's not good at chess. It doesn't become fun. I don't want to keep everything a secret because I would much rather have it be this battle of wits than me just constantly knocking over this other guy's pawn. I mean, that's fun once or twice, but if you are playing it for years, eventually you're like, oh, well, I'm not really doing anything new. This is I just roll in and destroy a pineapple level 1 with no shields on it, and there's no point to this. So,
want some competition.
Exactly.
So you've
raised the
been
game.
Playing for a long time. What got you into Ingress?
It was an article in Engadget originally, when it was in the days of beta, and I had submitted for the beta off of that, and that was back when you had to wait a few months to join because they were backlogged in the invite, and it actually happened to come at just the perfect time for me. My friend was in the hospital. I have a post, a video called My 16 that I share a little bit of the story, but my friend was in the hospital in a coma. And I had driven up to Portland, where I was raised, to be there next to her the entire time. And the doctors kept going like, "You need to get out," because I was sleeping by her bedside 23 hours a day, and they're like, "You need to get out and do things for your own mental health." And then the Ingress invite came through, and it was like, "Oh, they told me to go out and take a walk. I'll go and explore this game." And so it became not only an addiction, but literally this mental reprieve while I'm staying with my friend in the hospital. So it kind of, in its own way, saved my life, because otherwise it would have gone beyond crazy.
And you said you changed your name from Collin 3K to Incredible Hulk? Was that to defy being called a frog, or was there another reason?
It was, Collin 3000 is the moniker I use on pretty much everything, because it's never taken. I know that if it exists, it's me. But and so I just signed up to Ingress with that. But then after a while of playing, I was like, well, I'm green and I smash things, so I'm gonna change this up and go with Incredible Hulk. And the normal spelling was taken, so I had to do the where you capitalize letters and lowercase other letters in order to get it. So the L's in Incredible Hulk are actually capital I's. So I'm sure some other person who hasn't played in years, they're like level 7 for years, is just getting pinged probably once or twice a day for stat checks. But
they're like, this dude's only level 6. Why is he telling us how to play?
He doesn't even have like a single Onyx badge.
You know, I get that too, because I'm Soho, but I chose zeros for O's, and it always gets people because that's not very intuitive. You would never really think that first. And the other Soho, I think he is green, but he's like level 2, and he stopped playing years ago. It's like, wow, this guy's a fraud, you know.
Well, I did the same. I did Looney Lie, and I used G's instead of L's, and now everybody calls me Goonie Guy. It's really odd, but I don't know. What's up with the silent L's?
Freak. So you were Enlightened. So tell us, how did Enlightened choose you?
I didn't have anyone that I was coming in to play through at that point in time, so I was literally looking at those 2 paragraphs, and you know, I understand there's variations of why people choose one or the other. For me, it was more the sense I've always been a person who likes seeking knowledge and trying to move on to the next step and constantly evolve and better myself. And so that idea behind the Enlightened was trying to advance humanity, was what I really picked up on. And the thing where I was like, let's improve. Let's get better. Now, it turns out the world went the exact opposite way, but that is not my fault. I tried to advance it.
Wow. Okay, cool. Ours is kind of boring because like we just had a friend who was green and was like, hey, let's play the game. Join green. I was like, okay. So it's like, But
that's the way a lot of
like
people end up doing it. And it's because I've got I don't know how many. I never use the recruiter link, so I don't have the recruiter badge, but I have my Eve badge, which was 3 Apple players, and then at least another 7 or 8 players that I've recruited to Enlighten in one way or another. Some of them it was just like, listen, I'm dating you, and this is important to me. If you're playing, you have to be green because we can't play otherwise. So
I know. Yeah. How could you even be in the same car with someone who's not the same color? I mean, that's odd. That's awkward.
Yeah, it becomes an odd moment where chat's recently been popped up about win trading, and it's like when you're a couple, that's really difficult. Like some people are like, well, we have to switch off. Like you drive, I play.
Yeah.
So.
So speaking of driving around, do you have any good stories involving the police? Like, explaining yourself or getting pulled over, any kind of good stories?
I used to talk to the police. I want to say it was about 2 or 3 times a week. And that was kind of, I ended up, there's an episode called Ingress Ambassador, and it's because I got so used to explaining the game to police officers that it was like, okay, here's my go-to, let's explain this. You know, it's never really much of a problem. Most of the time when the police officers are trying to figure out what you're doing, it's because like you're parked at an odd angle, in the middle of a grassy field because you didn't want to walk. No, I didn't do that one. But you know, like you'll be parked outside of a park, and most of them are nice. Every once in a while, you get that grumpy police officer. I had one that I remember. I was in Huntsville, Utah, which is across the mountains, and it's a park. And like all the parking is on the outside of the park, and there's also parking across the street. And I was parked in the parking on the outside of the park because there's this portal. And I was there, and he's like, yeah, you can't park here. You have to park on the opposite side of the street because the park's closed. You can't even park along this side of the street. And I was like, okay. And that's about the grumpiest guy I've run into. But he's like a sheriff of a town with like 2,000 people. So he really had nothing else to do. But
did he ask you about the Labradoodle in the back seat?
I didn't have. I've played a lot of Ingress with a dog in a car, but it's usually a golden retriever. He enjoys it. He does not have his own account. Dogs aren't allowed to play either.
That's right. Not many make it to 13, I guess. So
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. Around level 11, they get hip dysplasia, and it just all goes downhill from there. They can't walk. They don't have their tracker badge anymore.
But speaking of retrievers, and this is an epic segue here, but people retrieving data, do you think it's like cheating to record your own data that you find in like spreadsheets and things like that, and then even more pass it around to other people on your team and search that data in the future?
I think it just depends on how it is done. All of these things that are being done, for the most part, that are controversial, are automated systems. And when we think about most things, when you're competing against, if you look at things like Google's new DeepMind AI, and let's say that you and I are both playing the game Go against each other. We're skilled competitors. I love that chess element of we have this skilled competitor, but then the other person they're using DeepMind's AI and then getting the data from that. It's not a one-on-one. It's not a fair fight because it's not human against human. And I mean, you could say, well, we can both pit AIs against each other and then it'll be fair. But what if we're in a tournament that says you can't use any AIs? And that's essentially what Ingress is, these automated tools do give an unfair advantage compared to, a manual data collection. When I was watching the episode that you guys did with Andrew, he talked about how, he'd record on clipboards back in the old days. I used to do very similar things. I've done so much data collection of like figuring out hack outputs and things like that, where you're manually inputting it in. And that's much more of a human versus human. And that's where you can up your human level. But as soon as you kind of cross this line into we're using, even if they are accessible to everyone, if you're using a tool that gives you an unfair advantage that is against the terms of service of the game, that is a different situation. If it's allowed in the terms of service, that's fine. I mean, that's agreed upon. But once we've agreed upon a set of rules, which we all do when we sign up, we click the terms of service. If you're playing Ingress, you click the terms of service. We agree to a set of rules. Let's play by those same set of rules.
Yeah, and we talked about the goldfish thing in Australia that came out over the past week or so, a lot last week. And I guess from what we had read and what the people who ran it said, that they were talking about it was manual entry. But later on, like going in and reading comments and seeing some screenshots of stuff, it does not appear that it was. I mean, it doesn't seem like there was any way they could have done what they did manually. So we'll get to a lot of those comments in the comms section later.
Well, there's an old judgment in Supreme Court where the judge was trying to define porn, and I think it almost applies in this situation where he said, "When I know it when I see it," and there's a lot of times you see that data and you're like, okay, there's no way you can manually collect that. Like you just kind of, if you've been playing Ingress long enough, you're like, how do you know that portal capture date? That's an interesting. They used to have the portal capture date on the Intel map itself, but that was removed like 4 years ago. So if you know that, you either have zero life and you're sitting there every single day recording every single portal capture, or it's probably not a manual collection of data.
Yeah, and keeping it updated. Like, hey, I just capped that an hour ago and it's already updated in your spreadsheet. Like, I'm going to call some BS on that.
Yeah. Unless you only have one portal in your town, and then
right. And it's that 1 week site where it's just you. That's the only person in the database. Like,
yeah.
Oh well, no guardian for me.
It's interesting that we are so advanced as a being that we have rules such as you're allowed to use your brain, but not an artificial brain. Right. Mm-hmm. So to me, in this game or any game from now on, it needs to scale to our technology. So what I mean is, like, games should be able to be fun and be competitive with our brains and artificial brains, because us as humans, we're going to just keep pushing the envelope. Like, if we're not smart enough, we're going to work on a program that is smart enough. So I think with Ingress Prime and looking into the future, they should have the knowledge of, they should have the realization that humans will use tools to advance their competitive edge,
So how do they remove that data, really, I think is what it comes down to, too. So people can't use that data, against other people and track people and do some really kind of devious things that are even go beyond playing the game. And I mean, I agree. People are going to try to do what they can, but that's why I think they need to crack down on it and really remove the gray areas in the rules. So the people who don't want to screw up don't accidentally screw up.
One thing I would say, and this is going to be really tricky for the next decade in AI coming in gaming, though, is at a certain point, then every game will become who's the best coder, not who's the best at this game. Because let's say I invent some AI that I am the only person using, and it automatically does everything for me, and I'm all of a sudden able to, for on any of the first person shooters, the things where you can shoot through walls and like perfectly align from all the way across the map, then there's no human skill involved. So that's going to be a tricky point where we figure out if we do allow these tools in, or with some sort of API access, how do you also limit what their API access is to still keep it in the range where human skill is the major component versus who is the best at Python? Because that's not me.
Right. Well, and it's like, speaking of like the shooters, like I've been playing PUBG a lot lately, and they've just recently opened it up to China, and all of a sudden, if you play on the Asian servers, there's every other game you're getting killed by a hacker. And it's like now they have it where you can like view the kill, and you're like, that dude just shot me through a mountain with a shotgun. Like, that's not possible.
Precisely.
And so it's like with Ingress kind of opening up Ingress to China, and if it's on the the same thing, there might be some more worries there, or hopefully they'll lock down the data. But even in the future, when we're all getting driven around by robots in cars, will that be breaking the TOS when we're hacking and the car's just driving us from portal to portal? Does it need a rule for that?
I'd have to review that specifically. I believe that it's okay underneath everything that I've seen in TOS.
Sweet.
It's like having a bus driver. Having a bus driver isn't illegal.
Right. Well, then I still want to do that. Do like a party bus where you get 20 people, everybody throws in $20, and you drinking beer Ingress while it's just taking you around in your downtown and stuff.
We've done that a few different times here in the Salt Lake area. Salt Lake has a lot of players per capita, and I love this area. I love the people. And we did a party bus. There was the one section of Anomalies where there was Niantic took a quarter off when the entire alphabet shuffle happened. So I coordinated with it was Matilde Tusperti, Vicky Allen, and a few other people, and we threw our own anomaly in Cebu, Philippines, and in in Mexico. I can't remember the city in Mexico, and it was actually a player-run anomaly. And I was on the party bus upside down on it's Utah, so they call it a stabilization pole, like shooting off scrambled portal locations to people while also hacking in like one hand on my phone, like I was like on Telegram shooting over something, and the other one I was like hacking upside down on a stabilization pole. So you can have some crazy fun in Ingress if you know how to do it right. And you get a party bus.
We need that video. Awesome. That'll be it.
Yeah.
There is photos of it, and I might send those over if I can find them.
There we go. That sounds like a plan. And you want to go ahead and move on into the next segment?
SITREP.
Let's do it. Let's do some SITREP. Let's see what happened this week in the situation report, the news and events, and what we've been up to. I did want to circle back around from last week. The SITREP for the Operation Freyja was released, and we'll link to that in the show notes. And it lists all the people that were involved with that huge, glorious triangle, layers and layers of triangles over Tennessee and Alabama. And so big props to everybody involved. Mainly one of the fielding groups, Aurora, did an incredible job. This wouldn't be possible without a group like this. So big props to all of them, and let me be involved with that.
Cool.
And next is the Circle K. I don't know if you've had any run-ins at the Circle K, Collin, but I
don't have Circle Ks here.
What?
Yeah.
Well, you might be lucky.
There's none in the entire state of Utah.
Well, but you're a traveling man. I've seen you've been on tour for the past year, it seems like.
True. There was a Circle K. I think I was just driving out of Tucson this last week, and there was one there, but I was like, I've got other things I need to worry about versus, a few extra weapons.
Or no weapons. So I've been going to Circle K and I get my lunch drink there, and then I go to the restaurant next door and get my lunch a few times a week, or not lately, but used to. And during December, it stopped giving me codes when they switched over to the new way they did it for December. And then when they switched it back, it just won't give me codes anymore, doing the same thing I've always done. And I can't get response from them, like from Circle K. And I feel like it's their issue and not Ingress's. So I don't want to be like, hey, Andrew, where's my, because he's already given us codes for the show to give out, which we'll get later. But yeah, so Circle K, there's people posting in our videos that they're not coming to Circle K until you start giving the codes out again to me. So
that's the way you got to get them, because otherwise they'll be like, listen, we like one person set this up as a thing with, we don't know. We're focused on figuring out how to get Slim Jims for a penny cheaper.
Right. we don't know what's going on there.
Not that Circle K isn't wonderful people, I assume.
He doesn't know. They're not around him.
I know. Yeah. Bring some Circle K's here. I know your guys' history.
And then this next one.
Let's see. Next AMA?
Yeah, the next AMA with Krug will be on February 5th. So everybody get your questions ready.
On the 5th. That is that like next Monday? No, that's in 2 weeks from now. So his once a month regimen from here on out. So make it a good question, because once every 30 days.
Which I'm actually glad that he switched it up like that, so you can get better information versus also if you try to catch up on the AMAs and read back through everything. There's this wonderful sorted list that's available, but if you just go and look at the actual AMAs, you're like, I can't. It's hard to make heads or tails of this information. So once a month with more defined questions, also less chances for trolling.
Right. Yeah.
Or a month to think of a really, really good troll, because those are okay.
Now I have a new goal. I have a new goal to work on.
We'll see if we can get Andrew behind a green screen or in front of one. Behind it doesn't really help out. Then he's just doing like a ghost. Ooh. Maybe I'm here, maybe I'm not. Also, quantum capsules have started dropping, if you believe screenshots that some people are showing.
Right. I was going to say, I haven't seen it happen yet, but, it's hard to just believe every screenshot in Reddit or G+ that goes in there. But maybe. So be on the lookout and let us know. Even if you let us know, we wouldn't know for sure. We gotta do it ourselves. So go out there and hack and see what happens.
Well, and if you look at if it's about the same as the MUFG hack rate, you're looking at like 500 to 1,000 hacks before you pop one up. So we should see them popping up soon. But also, depending on how much you're hacking, I think most people with their average hack rate, it's going to take them like a week or two.
And then others, lunchtime. 2 quantum capsules.
Yeah. What I'm interested to see is if there's supposed to be the same, but I'm curious to see if there's a difference in output rates, because I'm a data nerd and I was tracking MUFGs and we had the data and I was about to release the episode and then they changed the data. They've done that like 3 times on MUFGs. So I'm now waiting till 2.0. I'm like, I want to make sure they don't change anything for 2.0 to have like a higher output rate, which would be nice, fingers crossed, to go back to the higher rate. But I understand why they dropped it, because of VRLAs are a little, you don't want to have too many of those floating around.
Yeah. When people are dropping, hey, here's 800 for the anomaly. Anybody else need some?
Camps.
It's like, it's going to be painful. And I guess so. Our weeks of ingressing, I did the AA mission today. We submitted a mission for Agent Academy in Huntsville, and it's places where like Eric and I met and things that we've done throughout the years ingressing. And so I went and ran and did it today and completed it and got my Agent Academy badge in Ingress. So that was really awesome.
When you said AA, I thought it was like the sobriety one. I was like, is that the opposite of beergrass? Is that like when you beergrass too much, you got to hit the AA mission?
And they give you a badge too, or a medallion or something. A little different.
I feel like the AA mission would take a longer time, but it would still only take, like, the Trekker badge would only give you 12 steps.
It's one you never finished. Yeah. Take it one day at a time.
Yeah.
Also, I took my family out ingressing this week. They gave me some coupons for Christmas that I could force them to ingress with me. So I used one this weekend. And no one leveled up, unfortunately, but I'm working on that. I'm ready for my crew of 8s for, next November when we have the double AP and hopefully double rezos again. If I can just run around town making all 8s everywhere and making a bunch of local res mad. It'd be fun.
The double 8s was a very interesting change on the dynamic, because we've seen double AP so many times before when the double release of double 7s and double 8s. That to me, I think, is one of the biggest game change dynamics that I've seen in the last year. That was a pretty bold choice from Niantic, bold relative to some of the other things they do. Obviously, it's not like they were like, well, suddenly you can cut through fields with XM scissors, but it was a pretty drastic change from the history to see them do that. So I'm curious to see if it happens again at the next year anniversary.
And then add in the link lasers, cut through the field.
Yeah.
Nice.
So have you been playing some Ingress this week, Collin?
I have been pretty low. I was down in Tucson this last week for some stand-up. Oh no, was it more than a week ago? Oh man, I got sick while I was performing. I got a flu, and I was also performing with pink eye. Which, if you've ever been in front of bright lights, pink eye is exactly what you want. Because apparently I have the immune system of a toddler, and it's honestly my fault. You know how they say you should change your contacts every month? I'm like, it's about every president I change my contacts is one thing. And then I love dogs, so I was staying with someone who had a dog who I just let lick me in the face, and I found out that the dog eats chicken poop, and I was like, I am doomed now. But so I was half ingressing around the town, like half just coughing my way to the next location that I need to go to. But I just took the week after that I got back, and I was like, I'm just going to spend the time in bed doing nothing. I've already lost my my Sojourner badge a long time ago at 558. So at this point, once you lose that, you're like, I don't have to hack every day.
Would you want them to add something kind of like Pokemon Go, where it was shorter, like durations to get you out every day? So like, weekly, and get more items each day or something.
It would be nice for the bonus piece to get a little bit of a bonus on there, where because that is a nice metric where at the end of the week you get a reward versus, if you do miss 28, 29-ish hours on Sojourner at day 364, you've lost it all. Yeah. Not day 364, but 359. So it's having shorter intervals with some smaller thing. But when we look at Niantic's history of awards, and I know one of the things when we were doing, so in addition to the tutorials, we also did some live broadcasts for Niantic at the Anomalies, which they were kind enough to reach out to me, and they said, we want to do a live broadcast, live coverage of it. Would you do this? So we had 3 Anomalies where we actually covered live. Niantic gave me a bit of a budget. We flew out to the locations. It was fun. But one of the things I kept trying to request was codes, and trying to get a bunch of codes that we could do for on-air giveaways. And because they're worried about the in-game economy, like there was, when I was negotiating back and forth, where I was like, hey, can we get like a VRLA code thing? There's certain limits they won't push. So I think for the rewards we'd probably see after a week, it would probably be something like a Circle K cube at best.
Right.
So it'd be a nice, handy little extra thing. But I think as far as what they can offer on Pokemon Go for rewards versus what they offer in Ingress, it wouldn't be probably the exact same level. It would be something that's still useful, but wouldn't break the game's economy at the exact same time. So you wouldn't be getting like a fracker every week, unfortunately.
Frack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, what about you, Agent Soho?
Well, mine was kind of light too. I am starting up a new business and had to run to the courthouse a couple times for paperwork and go to the post office I lost count how many times this week. So every time I win, of course, I'm I'm blowing stuff up or capturing stuff or throwing wild links out into the blue yonder, hoping
That was you, that 20-kilometer link.
Right, and hoping nobody yells at me in comms. So I just kind of sporadically I would end up downtown and go, yeah. So that was kind of my week. I didn't ever really go out of my way this week. It was just like, I'm on a mission to go downtown. Oh, while I'm here. So that was effective, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I'm still level 13, so slowly getting AP. Anyway, I did want to ask Collin. We have a contest that's going right now. It's kind of to guess the date and the time of when Ingress Prime is going to be released. Do you have a date and time that you think it's going to be released?
So I don't think, and this is very important to me because I'm holding up on new episodes for Ingress Prime to come out before I do a bunch, because it takes when I produce an episode from start to finish, it's 10 to 15 minutes that you see on screen. I make sure everything is researched, which is why I had to stop doing Pokemon Go episodes, because they change it so dynamically and people are releasing information wildly that was false. But I always make sure everything's researched and set. So it takes about 40 hours from start to finish for one episode. So I've been holding people like, why new episodes not come out? It's like, it's because it literally takes a full week of work to get one. And I keep thinking, oh, Ingress 2.0 is going to come out and then it'll wipe it off. All the stuff will no longer be useful. And I've been thinking that now since they announced it was coming out like a year ago.
Wow.
So I've been like, this date to me is something where it's like, I can finally jump back in and create new episodes because I know I won't be wasting time. So I don't think it's going to be within the next 2 months. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be in Q1. My guesses are possibly the very end of Q1 or the beginning, middle of Q2, right when we see the weather also warming up. I don't think it's going to be timed because of that, but I think they might be shooting for that as a goal, because then, with the flu and snow and everything going on, depending on where you live, if they launched Prime right now, you wouldn't get as much activity as if you have it during a better time. But I know they're still doing a lot on the coding side. If you've seen the videos that were coming out from the last Anomaly series, where they weren't clicking into certain apps and they weren't clicking into certain sections to show you, that kind of gives you a hint of how much coding work probably still needs to be done, and how much design work still needs to be done to have it fully working. So my guess, if I'm going to give you a date, part of me thinks it would be great if they released it on April 1st. that would be, no one would believe it was actually released. I'm going to shoot. So I guess this would technically be the end of Q1. I'm going to say last week in March. If I'm going to give a specific date, I want to say March 28th for some reason.
Okay.
That's going to be my guess. Yeah.
Okay.
This is going to be like in Waterboy when she calls the end of the score and just looks over because she knows it's rigged. But so, do you think
trying to Babe Ruth it?
People who went to Navarro are supposed to get in the beta, I believe, as they've said in the past. Do you think they'll start the beta at the next Navarro, and that would lead up into when the release is?
That would be Memorial Day weekend, which would put us in May. And I'm just so, because I hate sitting and not doing anything on this, I don't want to wait that long.
Right.
Aside from just having the new game. There's a rumor that Navarro people will get that. And I have definitely sent Andrew some messages on things. And I'm hoping it's done before Navarro. I'm really hoping that the beta is done before Navarro, just because depending on how long it sits in beta mode, it could be a little while where there's like a month of people playing the new version, a month of people playing the old version. And I could, if I was one of the people that didn't have access, I went to Navarro, but if I was one of those people that didn't have access to the beta, while everyone else was playing, I would be very upset.
Right.
I would be almost foaming at the mouth, just like, I want to just release. It's mostly just release. Ironically, they'd be like, just release the buggy product.
Right. Well, and I think it only benefits them to say, at least get creators like you into the beta so you can start working on videos to have them ready to go when it is released. Because the more people who see it and see the cool stuff, the more it could get other people to play, and that just benefits them, gets people excited.
I pitched that idea to Andrew, which is why I've been pinging him back and forth. Is like, hey, can I, I'd like to do a series on the new. Can I get beta? And he's like, it's not. No, not right now. Not right now. It's not. He's like, it's not ready. And I haven't talked to him in a while about it, because I didn't want to be that guy who's sending him the same message every week. Like, so now is it ready now? He's like, I'll get back to you when he can give me anything, if possible at all. So that's what I'm hoping happens. And I'm hoping one of the things I agree to, if I do get beta access and no one else has it, I won't tell anyone, is one of the things I'm willing to agree to, just because I think it's more important to have, and this is, if someone else did this as well, I'd be fine with it if someone else was handling tutorials, but I think it's very important to have a good tutorial with the launch of 2.0, because of those exact reasons you were saying. And, I've just done it before in the past a lot, but the in-game tutorials are they still leave people wanting.
Right.
And having video walkthroughs. I also, the Smurfling lessons is another great for written. If you prefer the written thing, Fev Games for like dictionary style stuff there's all these great resources that you end up going to, because the in-game ones in the past have been basically how to walk tutorials, and that's been about it. So,
well, hey, Brent, should we tell him?
Yeah.
Okay. So Andrew already gave us the beta, and he told us not to give it to you. Everybody else is. Let
me just go ahead and just
stab. So mean, Mr. Fullerton. Just epically mean. But it's perfect segue into this.
What's in the capsule?
What is in the capsule this week? And this is the segment where we talk about what people want to add in the game, or subtract, or change, or modify, whatever. Dive into the code and rename some variables and compile it and see what happens. I don't know. So let's talk about our awesome ideas and our not so awesome ideas.
You must have read mine already.
And let's begin with Collin, because you probably have some awesome ideas.
There's ones I've had kicking around forever, and some of them are like personal complaint ones where they would be easy to fix. And I've brought them up time and time again. So things like I mentioned the Eve Recruiter badge, which a lot of people probably aren't familiar with. If you are playing on iOS, you probably don't know about it. When iOS, the version launched, it was originally only on Android. When it launched, you got a badge if you recruited 3 people verified that were iOS players. And that doesn't count towards Recruiter badge. So in protest, I am perma-locking Recruiter badge. I'm never going to get it until they make the Eve medal worth the 3 people for Recruiter that they already verified I got. So there's some small things like that. I do like, there's some things where I think a small shift in the way that they're done can change some frustrating game dynamics. So Sojourner is wonderful on many levels, but I think having your total number of days hacked is very helpful for people who might have unfortunate circumstances befall them if you end up in like the hospital, or if you end up in something. So I lost my Sojourner. I have huge problems with depression, and I was hospitalized for depression. And you know what makes you really depressed is coming out of the hospital and losing your Sojourner badge. So having it be total number of days hacked, or things like, same thing with, we're looking at shifts in Guardian badge, where you change the dynamic of how it's calculated while being able to keep the thing. So, things with Guardian where it might be, if you can recapture the same portal within a week, it restarts the count, or something like that. Or total number of days that you've held a portal, but not consecutively, where those changes will help relieve some of the stresses and some of the issues that we encounter as players, beyond just being a cool new feature, but actually relieving a pain point.
Yeah. No, that actually makes a good point with like Guardian. Like, why not just make it the total number of days you have a single portal captured? Like, maybe not the total, but that one portal, so you could go back and recapture it, and it would just keep ticking up then. And if someone took it, it stops the counter, but if you go back and take it, it keeps counting up again. And then, so what if people take it? That's the game. That's the whole point of it.
It doesn't destroy that dynamic of encouraging people to capture portals, because portals should change hands. That's the idea. But to me, a guardian is something where you care about it. You still want it to be able to change hands for the sake of the game dynamic. But if you care about it, you're keeping that like that's your portal. That's your home portal. That's your desk portal. That's your work portal. That's the portal that's right out the front of your side piece's apartment. And that's an important portal to you.
Yeah. Well, and then, because then you're not hunting out this portal in the middle of nowhere that someone's going to spoof down later on. It's something, like you said, you care about, and it's in your neighborhood. And that makes a lot of sense. Love it.
Yeah.
What about you, Agent Soho?
So I talked about in previous episodes how it would be nice to have some kind of indication that you own a portal, so that you could just simply... I mean, there's a million reasons why you'd want to see a map and know what portals you own. But but this week I realized that I would also like to know what resonators I own. So a little visual indication, like maybe a glow or an outline or something. So to know what to be able to know what resonator is owned by you, you have to click a portal. You click into it. And then when you see the screen, it doesn't show you the name. You still have to say deploy status. And then there's actually a lag time. You have to wait for the name tags to appear. So multiply that by 12 times. And how much time have you just spent waiting to know how many, resonators you have in a dense downtown area? And this is what I realized this week, just going downtown every day. And that's just, it seems like there should be a better, more efficient way to do that. So instead of having to click all the way down and everything, how about just something visual on the, and I'm talking about Ingress Prime here, of course, but, some sort of a visual cue. If you look out into a landscape and all the little tiny resonators are there's something different about them, and those are yours. So that would be my idea.
Maybe put your face on the resonator.
Heavy little face right there.
And then you see everybody's little avatar faces on the different resonators. Oh, you didn't put the 8 on this one.
Right?
Yeah. See your face.
Although, pro tip, you can save about 15% of time if you do the long press and just slide over to deploy versus clicking in a portal and then clicking on to deploy resonators from there. Depending on the speed of your phone, it's usually about 15%. So it's not a perfect fix, but in the meantime,
I didn't think of that. I'll have to remember that next time.
That's one of those ones where I sat down and I was timing it with phones for an episode. Like I had a bunch of different phones out. And I was like, well, how fast is this with like a GoPro on high speed?
I think about 50. Lost your job, Eric. How do you feel about podcasting, Colin?
Yeah, my podcast I'll be doing will be much different. Much different.
Are you spinning up a new podcast?
I've been debating it for a long time because it's not at all family friendly deliberately. And so there's like no monetization options whatsoever. There's I do stand-up comedy, and there's a joke known as the Aristocrats, which among comedians is known as the dirtiest joke ever told. Yeah. And I want to just make a new version of that every week, like a 10-minute version every week. So it would be completely like no one's going to, even Playboy would be like, yeah, we can't support this. So that keeps holding me off. And I'm like, one of these days I've got the equipment. I'm going to get drunk in front of a microphone. It's going to be tape like 10 episodes up front.
Sounds great. I'll subscribe. So
and be horrified.
In the capsule this week, this is kind of long and we're running short, but I'll try to get through it. So OPR, like I've just recently been doing more OPR, like on the level 12, like going in and, approving and denying and all that crap. But it really opened my eyes to when I was level 11 or below, I had no clue what a portal should be, really. I mean, I kind of had an idea, but really you go by, following people to the mess hall. Like what is already a portal? That's like what you look around for. And that's why there's so many crap submissions. So I think they should turn it around in a level 11 open OPR to level 11s, make them take the quiz before they can actually submit portals, and then let them actually work on their recon badge. But their like approvals and denies don't actually count for anything at that point. It's just more of a lesson. Like learning the system, what should be right, what should be wrong. And really, if they added in something to tell you, okay, no, you really should have picked this for this portal, or what all these other agents picked this, you should have picked it, to teach people what is good. And then maybe if you get to great before level 12, start counting towards submissions. And then of course at level 12, if you're still in good standing, start like usual. But I think that would really help out the poor portal submissions.
Yeah. I think so.
And we had,
that's a good idea. I don't have any criticism or gripes or anything. I'm like, yeah, they should do that.
Well, good. It's in, I think. I'll send that message over to Andrew. So we also got a Twitter. I believe this is on Twitter. Let's see. Agent Dewey J. Actually, no, that's a different one. Finny McFinger has a weekly idea. Auto-link mod. If two portals have this mod and are linked from a third common portal, a link is automatically created, assuming full resonators and no blockers. And then 1 week, Finny will have an idea for something that isn't a mod. And so if you're watching the video, you can see a little better what I totally horrifyingly read out incorrectly in awkward ways that probably confused everyone.
One of the things looking at that, and a lot of the things that they end up having to make decisions on for mods and whatnot, not only in the game economy, but I'm wondering how much that would tax a server, because it would then have to, with an auto-link mod, query things. I'm wondering, I love the idea, I'm just wondering if there's an easy way to implement that without exploding in Intel, making an Intel CPU have an actual meltdown.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they would have to brace for it if they really went to implement all these crazy new mods, which I hope they do. I hope they have like 30 to 50 mods. Like, I want a whole selection. I want that to be a kind of a mini game. Like, what mod is good in this situation? And then you have teams of people doing all these specific tasks and stuff with all these specialized mods. I think it would really change the game. But this is an interesting one because it closes the field by auto linking a third one. I see now what it does. So I don't know. I'm a fan of just increasing the amount of specificity.
That's a word.
Something like that.
It's a new word, but it's a word.
Because I think if you keep the game so broad, I don't know. I want it to really. I want people to focus in. I want like specialized teams. I keep thinking of like a SWAT team coming in, right? And everybody has their own skill and their own task when they breach a house or whatever it is they're doing. That's what I want to see Ingress do. I want to see a team of people and everybody has a certain role. That'd be really, really exciting.
So we also have one here. This one's from LA Southern 328 on Twitter. Says, on a scaling factor, a certain number of agents on a team will have to charge at least one of the three anchors of a field relative to its size by the first or last checkpoint of the day. If the agent daily charge quota hasn't been met, field drops. So a small field would require one agent, a medium field 2 agents, a large 4, a city BAF 6 agents, or some variant. This would encourage teamwork and help prevent cities from being locked up by large fields that prevent agents from fielding.
Wow.
This is a very interesting way to deal with hard access and BGAN portals. Just curious. I wonder how they define the number of people necessary. Just how active people players in the last month, last week, last day.
Right.
And I left out, I think, that part. I think they were saying by MU of the field. So a certain amount of MU would dictate the size of the field for how many people would need, I guess.
Everyone's calling, Jerry, quick, we need the 14th person. It's going to go down.
Right. Get to work. And this next one here is from Blue Ox. Idea for Prime. It may have been brought up already, but open up higher levels. It's time. What do you think? Is it time for higher levels?
Level 17. Level, all the way to 24 or something like that? 25, 24, something?
I wonder if they, like, one level at a time. Like, open
You mean
up
like
17 and let people work towards that.
Oh, just one. Yeah, because these are long levels if you think about it. And, like World of Warcraft, right? For the last decade, they do 10 levels at a time because it's really no big deal to get those 10 levels, but it's a big deal to get one level in Ingress. So I could see, unless they scale back, unless they, tweak the AP and the numbers and stuff, I mean, they could possibly do that.
So interestingly, this was about, I want to say 3 years ago, and this got corrected later on. There was a video of Oliver Linton Wolf where he announced that level 17 and 18 were coming. So that was a lower level set. It was only going to be a couple levels released. Now, it ended up being changed, and Andrew's explanation when I grilled him about it, because we were live on air doing Brooklyn, and someone asked when higher levels were going to be, and I was like, oh, well, Oliver Linden Wolf. I start getting his hands are just waving from across from, like, no, that's not good anymore. And his explanation was, you can't trust Oliver Linden Wolf. But so I think if you do see a level release, it is going to be not 8 levels again, because if we look at what they're planning on, at least back before some sort of change happened, it was a couple levels at a time. So I wouldn't be surprised if you just got like a 17, 18, and then maybe after that, just a 19, 20.
I think that makes sense. Make complete sense. So would moving on to comms, because we're running out of time, and we've got tons of comms. We might actually have to skip some from next week. So let's do some comms. Comms.
All right. So what we got to foist?
First, we have a call in from Agent Dewey.
Cool.
Hi guys, Dewey J from the Central Illinois Resistance. Something for what's in the capsule. I know a lot of times I may have like a lot of 8 resonators and maybe a few 7, but I'll be low on 5s and 4s and things like that. And when you solo deploy, you run out of them. So what about a gear splitter? It would run something like a fracker on a time limit. And whenever you run it up, then it will ask you what you want to split. So you might choose like an L8 resonator, and then it will present you with levels below that, like 7, 6 down, and you choose that, and it'll do the math. So if you take a level 8 resonator and you want to split it, and you choose, say, a 4, you'll get a 4 and a 4. Or maybe if you want to get more 5s, you take that 8, and then you choose a 5, and you get a 5 and a 3. So just something to help out. Thanks.
Love it. I would totally use it. I can't really think of the top of my head how that would break the game, but I like that idea. Go for that.
Can't go for that. Nope.
Can't go for that. Okay. Yes, can do.
So some real comms here then. We've got Alistair Gilthlan, and sorry for butchering the name. Says, I thought the URL instead of the raw passcode was really original idea. It added more reward than the items or a fully redeemed message, and everyone that successfully decodes it gets to see it. Either way, I'm really loving the show, guys, and I'm also getting the locals in Sydney into it for various reasons. So
cool. He's referring to last week's secret encoded passcode that we put in there. So yay, congrats.
And I'm just going to kind of move through these because we got quite a few.
Okay.
This one here is from K Fort. Says IITC makes it much easier for planning big ops. However, it is doable with just standard intel, just much harder to share the information because you can't copy and paste the whole draw. And standard intel, you can only copy and paste 40 links. Jay Ray says, to Brent's comment, speed locking lasts longer if you continuously attempt to trigger actions, even if your speed falls below the threshold. So by being patient and waiting just a bit before you attempt, you'll get to do it. Mm-hmm. Ryan Albright says, hey guys, love the show. Agent the Stink Eye here. I fly all the time and you're speed locked in the air, and usually cell service is lost above 6,000 feet. Even if you're logged on to Wi-Fi, you're going too fast and speed locked.
Yeah. We talked about that.
Airplanes have been used though in the past, including your anomalies. So you just got to have a really good skill shot and only go one time.
Just once. And Iron Angel Forge says, another fun episode, and thank the shapers and server for goodies. I showed this to a buddy and he commented that with the background fading to blue at the right, it makes it look like Agent Soho is either a res agent or a spy. Rock on, agents.
It's true. I'm a spy. Oops. I guess I shouldn't have said that.
Uh-oh. Another one from Dewey J. Dewey J here for comms. In our area, we have a number of portals that don't really match up with what was submitted 4 or 5 years ago. For example, in a nearby town, they have a section that has sculptures, and statues, totally different things, along the streets. The city allows the artists to sell the works, and it seems like they also rotate the works every year or two. So you end up with a portal name and picture that does not reflect what is at the location. For example, one portal, the go-go dancer, has a picture of a great big metal statue of a go-go dancer years ago. The statue was there, but it has been sold or rotated out, and now there's an abstract artwork statue there. What would you think about putting portal corrections and changes into OPR? How do we make this better?
Yeah.
There is actually a trick on that. There's, from what I understand, contractually, the original historic database ones that were put into Ingress to seed Ingress, there's a contract that doesn't allow those locations to be changed. So they'd have to withhold those specific portal changes and only allow portal changes from portals that were submitted. And I don't know if the database is honestly that divided up. I'm sure they could manually figure a way to do that, but that might be why they haven't done something like that, just for anyone that's wondering.
Good info. I knew I got him on the show for a reason. Next one here from Nefo9 says, so I'm new to Ingress. Can't believe it took me this long, LOL, but I was wondering, if I take a portal, will it stay in my possession until it gets taken over, or do I have to go to it every day to keep control of it? You want to answer that one, Eric? Were you paying attention? You weren't paying attention.
My dog ran up to me. I'm like, uh-oh.
I did that on purpose. No, well, you have to recharge it. So your portal, the resonators on it will slowly degrade over time. And if you don't recharge it, you will lose that portal. It'll become neutral again. But you don't have to go every day. And you can do it from home if you have a key. Or other people has keys. They might do it for you. If you're lucky.
As long as you live close enough. You have to live within 500 kilometers of it for every one agent level that you have. So if you took a portal in like Maryland and then was trying to recharge it from Texas at level 2, not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
That will be way too far.
Yeah. I have some of those from Europe that I was like, oh, you're just gonna have to die.
Over there, right? Close by.
Yeah.
Go recharge this. And we cannot leave the fish tank today without talking about the goldfish in the tank. But this also is way too much info with the short time we're running. So we'll get more on this later. And you can go to episode 11 of the podcast and see the comments there. There's a ton of great information. It opened my eyes and really clarified some stuff. You can do some investigating of your own, as well as checking out the WordPress on the information, and make up your mind about goldfish, what it was and what it is, and what it did. And if it was scraping data, and really it's getting kind of past that, like it doesn't really pass the test, like Collin was saying. I don't think, in my opinion, either, regardless of how the data was entered at this point. Something's very fishy with it. See what I did there?
Hey-o. I see what you did there.
Carpe.
Hashtag gold faction.
Is that new info? Did Andrew tell you something? That's the new
I wish.
Do you want a third faction?
It would be tricky at this point in time to have a new faction pop up like that, because it's kind of the same thing when you saw the Ingress players migrate over to Pokemon Go. Like a lot of the Resistance players were like, oh, we'll just pick blue. And then the Enlightened players were like, well, we don't have a green option. So you kind of have, it would be tricky to have people change factions now and to have the balance not suddenly go where there's only like 10% of people on one faction. They're just getting hammered. So unless everyone had to suddenly choose new factions and you couldn't choose your old faction, it was a weird shuffle game.
Oh, jeez. I think that would be the end of the game for a lot of people.
Yeah. So I don't know a way that you could introduce that without breaking the game.
Yeah, I'm really kind of worried that they will, because especially if they do red, like that's my color. So if they did that, I would be like, what do I do? I couldn't leave green at this point, you know.
Mm-mm. So, they should just make colors no one wants. Like, this is a chartreuse. This is burnt sienna.
We'll see what you do with this now. And we are running pretty long, so we're gonna cut this short today. I do want to I guess there was nothing else really in comm, so we'll just go ahead and talk about the outro stuff. First, we got to say thank you to our guest, IncredibIeHulk.
Absolutely. Happy to come on.
And everyone listening or watching should go now to collinwilliams.com.
It's Comic Collin. Collin Williams is taken. I have a very, very sadly easy name, but it was taken. So comiccollin with 2Ls.com. I think almost all my websites always link to each other. So INGRESSION is the website for the Ingress stuff and the Ingress tutorials, and that has a link that says do not click here, and that will take you to my personal website. So you were warned ahead of time if you click on it.
But I will tell people now, go to comiccollin.com. There's a lot of really cool stuff there. The music you do with Cold Fusion, really some cool stuff. People go watch it. The comedy is gold. There's some incredible stuff. You need to get my suicide note down here in Alabama. Don't be scared. We have a new club down here that would be great, I think, for you.
I'll have to check that, because I was planning on doing Florida sometime, hopefully in the late year. So maybe at Alabama as a stop.
Yeah,
fly in,
and we'll get you in the studio live at that point.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely go out and do some videos if you make it here for sure. That'd be awesome.
Heck yeah,
and take you to a Circle K. Maybe go look for some illegal labradoodles.
I'll just sit there. Oh, yes. Now I too shall be frustrated by unredeemable passcodes.
I'll even let you scan the code to see if you get a code, and then I'll cry. So are you still on tour? You got more tour dates coming up, or are you kind of in a break?
So I just finished up the last leg, and then I'm trying to set up dates for. I had to figure out some scheduling stuff. So dates will be upcoming. Those will be on the My Suicide Note website, which the My Suicide Note, it's so far, I just finished up at Tucson's Fringe Festival, and it's one thing, I love tooting my own horn as much as possible, but I got an email from one of the people that works for the festival, as actually directs it, and she's like, so I'm not supposed to pick favorites, but I just want you to know I love the show. It's a very deep interpersonal stand-up comedy, so it's not like if you've watched like Brian Regan or something like that online, it's not family friendly, admittedly. If you've ever seen stuff from Christopher Titus, he had a show on Fox for 3 seasons. It's more along with that. So it's a comedy show that people are like laughing and crying at, but loving so far. And it's suicidenote.me is the website for that. And don't pull it up around children or at work.
Especially if you work around children, then you're really
yeah.
But again, thank you so much for this has been just a special show for me as well. I've been watching her stuff for a long time. So,
well, and thank you guys for picking up the torch, because I know, as I mentioned, I'm holding off on some new stuff. I know Behind the Scanners kind of fizzled out as well. So having some people that are taking up the mantle of keeping the community going, that's really why Ingress exists. Isn't because of the game, it's because of the community. So thank you guys for grabbing the next relay torch and running with it.
Well, thank you, and hopefully we'll get to meet up sometime at Anomaly or something at down at the Comic Club. something like that. And everybody else, thank you so much for watching again this week. We appreciate it. Everybody, all the sponsors, followers, and people who've submitted content for the show. We will get to your submissions next week that we didn't get to this week, as well as your new ones. You can submit those, tweet us at Agent Academy. Also, speakpipe.com/Agent Academy to leave audio messages. And you can join our Telegram channel, Agent Academy, and join the discussion there as well. There's some awesome stuff. There's some awesome links that we didn't get to. We're going to get to those in the next show. And I don't know, there may be a code involved somewhere. You'll have to figure that one out as well. But see y'all next time.
Bye.
Destroy, deploy, enjoy.